Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of gold and silver. So today we're going to look at the normal things: dollar, 10-year yield, precious metals, companies, and so forth. Again, this is just my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. I've got the dollar behind me. Let's take a look. I'll be your scribe here to scribe out what's going on. Now, looking at this, we're at a decision point. And this is the dollar, the DXY. And what it is, we've got this kind of resistance line here. Support, resistance. Support coming down, resistance coming up. And we've come on up. We've made a move. Now we're doing a return move. And if you notice, a return move means that we're probably going to head higher, not lower. Now, if we break down below this, and we break down, well, then we're going to go, weaker dollar, and our commodities will get an extra kick in the butt. Not just a regular kick, an extra kick. But this looks like we may potentially go higher, just by looking where the candlestick wicks are on the bottom, which means it sold off, but then got bought back up. Sold off, got bought back up. So I am expecting a move, sideways to higher from here. We got a little bit of momentum coming down. It's bouncing. It's finding buyers down here. That's what the wicks are indicating. So we'll have to see where this thing goes. My guess would be upward. It doesn't ruin anything with the thesis of the channel. It doesn't ruin anything there. It's just saying that the dollar is going to be a little bit stronger. But I do think that it's a headwind for gold. And I think in the short term, and I've been doing research, and really this just comes down to timing. I know gold and silver are eventually going to go higher with the market conditions of an expansion phase, but we are really early in this expansion phase of real estate. And in the early parts, gold and silver usually don't track the movements up. It usually takes a little bit of time to get going. The weird part is that we've got this stimulus that's been jacked into the system quite dramatically. And I don't know what effect that will have on gold and silver. I would think it's going to push it higher. And that's kind of my take on it. And remember, I'll just pop in real quick, and remember that everything is relative. So if you have gold going up, it's relative to the dollar because gold is priced in dollars if you're in America. So it's against dollars. We need the dollar to fall, I think, substantially for gold to really take a big move higher. Now, the DXY isn't necessarily, that's just an index. So you could have the dollar fall in real terms, and gold will be your measurement of that falling. And remember, money likes to flow to things based off of currencies as well. If the dollar's strong, it may prefer dollar-based investments like stocks because it's priced in dollars and their revenues are in dollars of those companies. And vice versa, if the dollar's weak, people are going to prefer emerging markets and non-dollar denominated assets, maybe like Canadian loonies or whatever it is. So that's what we got right there. We got the 10-year yield moving higher. So what this did is it broke out, did a return move like a back test, and now we're moving on higher. We were up 3.68%. We're at 1.77%. This looks fantastic to go higher. When you see the 10-year yield going higher, you usually see oil going higher. And I think in the beginning of this move, we're going to see the precious metals get kind of a headwind because we're still under the old paradigm that inflation is flat and interest rates move up and down, giving you a real negative yield. Kind of when it goes up, we're getting a more positive yield is what people think. Doesn't mean that's the necessary case. What they need to figure out and realize is that inflation is outpacing yields and that the real negative yield is actually getting larger. And that there's no point in holding bonds and eventually stocks if interest rates get high enough. So that money needs to rotate over, and we're just waiting for that to happen. We're in this like lull period where gold's just kind of hanging out. And this is the time I think that it looks really good. We've got a bullish engulfing. We've got good buying pressure and small selling pressure. That looks really good for a potential move to the upside. And I'm just going to draw this one other way, because you could also draw it like this and say that we're not breaking out. You can draw it through this guy here and say we are. You can also come all the way down here and say that we broke that one. You can draw this multiple ways. It really isn't important how you draw this or what pattern it makes. What's important is that we've got the buying pressure stepping in greater than the selling pressure. That's what we want to see. We want to see large up days, small down days, and for that to turn into an uptrend. That is the important thing. And we're starting to see that. Silver's got this, kind of a bigger move higher in small selling pressure. We don't want big selling pressure days like this one there or these two here. It means that we're still kind of in a consolidation mode. And I'd like to see large buying pressure, small selling pressure, and get this thing to turn around and start moving higher. Platinum, we're seeing that in platinum. And you can see the buying pressure this big day here. We got another big day here. And these days are larger. Man, that's like a drunk circle there. Obviously we kind of coiled up. We fell out the bottom. Hopefully this is the bottom here. This last touch of support. We're coming on up, and we want small down days, big up days. And we had a flat day today. Everything's looking okay. We could bounce around a little bit longer before moving up. But we're getting to a point where I think things are relaxing. They're chilling out, so to speak. And I'm looking at this as a pullback here, a smaller pullback, a smaller pullback, and what you're going to see is a contraction and pullbacks, and then eventually you're going to see a big move up. And you're going to have, man, I can't draw like that. I'm going to have to get a line. Eventually you're going to break some of these lines here. Like we broke that one there. We broke it. We came back and did a retest, and then we're coming back up. So I think we're on the right side of everything. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and please don't lose your patience on it. It will reward you quite handsomely over time. The companies themselves, let me hit a 1 year, get a daily up on here. They're looking okay. We got good buying pressure, small selling pressure. That's the characteristic. We've got strong selling pressure. We came up into an ascending wedge. We had one last little spill out of it, and now we're trying to regain our footing and move on higher. So that looks good to me. EXK also, big buying pressure, small selling pressure. It's the buyers, I think, are in control. It looks good. It looks good here for SILJ. Again, big buying pressure, small selling pressure. And we're seeing that across the board. And that's exactly what you want to see. Now, we're getting a little bit more selling pressure here in NGF. This thing, I think, has got some more grinding to do, some bumping and grinding. Looks like Koyo Resources. We've got a battle at this resistance line. Big buying pressure stepping in, some selling pressure still there. We got to get these sellers exhausted and out of here. And it's a battle going back and forth. Discovery Silver. See, this, I still think we could see some more downside here, guys. This is a bearish engulfing right here, and we're coming out the downside of this pattern. Sellers are still there. It's like they haven't left yet. And I think what we've got is kind of a larger correction on our hands, like an A, B, and then probably a C. We may even come back here for that last correction. It's possible. If we come down there, I'm going to let everyone know it's time to load up. And if you've been buying into it, you're okay. I've been doing the same thing. We can't project the future, but all we can do is look at the footprint that it's been laying down and change our mind as we go. We can't predict this stuff. And anyone who's trying to predict things, they don't know. I mean, some of these guys, like, they're predicting crashes and they're predicting all this stuff. I mean, that's really hard to predict, but we can react off of patterns that's laid down in footprints and where we can maybe potentially go. But this looks like it wants to go lower. AG is looking okay. It's hanging in there. This is a hammer pattern, so hopefully we can get a little bit of bounce here to the upside. Newmont's looking okay. A little hammer pattern, big buying pressure, small selling pressure, exactly what I want to see. Same thing with Mag Silver. It's looking okay. We've got, looks like a little bit of contraction going on here. We can kind of draw that in there where we contracted up, broke to the upside, doing a little retest, and hopefully we can get some traction to the upside. So that one looks good. Yamana Gold. We're just running into a little bit of resistance here on this pattern, the top of the pattern. We're coming into a little bit of resistance, a little bit of sellers. Impact Silver is getting a little bit more selling pressure, and I don't like these big selling pressure days right there. But support's holding, so we'll see where it goes. Aftermath getting a little bit of selling pressure today, a little wick at the bottom. What that means is that the buyers or the sellers sold it off when we got bought up down here at this price. Arcana Gold, it's still just chopping sideways. I don't really have too much to say there. PLG, flat day today. I like PLG down here. I wouldn't load in with a bunch of money. I did quadruple my position size, but it's still a very small position. I just want to let everyone know that. I do not hold a super large position in PLG, but I own, I did quadruple it, I think, recently. I think it's quadruple, 3.5 times or something like that. Sandstorm Gold looking okay. Big buying pressure, small selling pressure, hammer candlestick. Hopefully we can get some momentum to the upside. We still got some sellers in here for Franco-Nevada. We're still bouncing around. It is contracting a little bit in terms, and what I mean by that, and I can just kind of show you what I mean by this. And everything's about contractions, guys. It's all about looking for things contracting. You see that there? How the down movements are getting less and less as we go. Now, you can draw a pattern or do some sort of pattern. It doesn't really matter, but impulse move, it's just kind of leaking out. And I think we're going to get to a point where you better be in it because we're probably going to head higher because it's going to reverse because it's contracting up into a point, and maybe I can kind of draw it here. And it doesn't have to be pretty, guys. It doesn't have to be pretty, but that's kind of what I'm seeing as kind of a descending wedge type pattern going on. EMX looks like it's trying to find some footing here, boys and girls. Good buying pressure down here. It looks pretty good from this point on. It looks like we're trying to get some buyers here. I'd be a buyer down there for EMX if you want to do a little bit of sprinkling. Teuton's holding on. It's just holding flat sideways today. Wheaton Precious Metals getting a little bit of selling pressure. And maybe this is as far down as we go before heading higher. Because we had the wicks at the top here. This wick at the top means we're going to head a little bit lower. We had a little bit lower and we put a wick on the bottom. So it's back and forth action going on here. We'll see what happens. Gold Royalty. I drew this in here. It looks like we're hitting the bottom of where I drew it. And I'm not a prophecy. I'm just guessing just by sheer luck and what I've seen in the past. And then hopefully we can get a little bit of traction sideways movement here to thwart this downward motion. We still are in a downtrend here because you can see the selling pressure is greater than the buying pressure coming down. So we got to see that change around. This guy's just chopping sideways for Metallo Royalty. Mavericks Metals, yeah, a little bit of a bloody nose. It's got a little bit of a piercing style movement. We'll see where it goes from here. Hopefully a small down day or two comes next. Under control. Royal Gold putting a little hammer pattern, coming down a little bit. It's definitely contracting to the corner here. We'll see which way it breaks. And then we've got a Cisco Gold Royalties is pulling back a little bit, and hopefully we can get a move higher. Maybe it goes down a little bit more, but it's looking okay. It's still in control. Nothing's unsalvageable here. So that's what I see in the markets for precious metals. Do we have... Gold looks pretty good. So I would be biased for an upward move so long that gold goes. Some of these companies look a little bit bearish based off of their candlestick patterns. We may still have a little bit more sideways action before we decide which way we're going to go. I think we're going to head... I don't want to put projections out there because that's what makes it tough. What we need to do is we need to look at what's cheap, what's good, where is it located in its pattern, and do we add in or not? That's really the action. We can't really predict where things are going to go. A lot of people, they get in trouble trying to predict things. And if this heads lower, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to sell anything. I'm just going to ride it, and then buy more when we see it turn and come back up. We're starting to see some weakness in uranium, but I don't know how long it's going to last. So and energy's looking quite strong. So usually what happens is energy follows rates higher, and then precious metals, I think it'll be kind of like, it'll go sideways for a little bit, and then people will figure out like, hey, there's big inflation. We're going to go into precious metals, irrespective of what rates do. Because if inflation outpaces rates, we need rates to get high enough to force the money out of bonds and stocks into precious metals. And it just takes some time. Got to be patient. If you guys like this analysis, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.